MLB slate. Yes, that means every single team in Major League Baseball will be playing today. We'll walk you through the ones that we're the most interested in, and probably all of them overall. I'm Chris Spags, joined by my good pal, once again, the baseball savant, Jake Hari. How are you doing, Jake?
Good, good. We get to talk about DFS on a Friday. It's pretty good. Everything's looking up except for the weather around here. So if you start to hear me getting rained on, yeah, I guess we're supposed to have a pretty big storm coming tonight. So we'll see. I don't think I'll have issues losing power, but that's the only negative I can say about right now.
So I guess while you're talking weather there, I don't think the Twins actually play at home today. But any weather concerns for you at all in today's slate?
I don't see any. In the first place, I usually check is just the projections, and we don't have anyone being affected by weather. Obviously, that will get updated if Alex deems one of these games maybe more risky than it's looking right now. But I'm seeing a lot of green on any site that you look at, which usually means go.
All right, so we are all go then. So go feel confident in all the lines you're making right now. So I'm with you too. No other concerns for me. And also, a link was just dropped into the YouTube chat. We're doing a special giveaway. It's actually directly stolen from my Four Corners video. So thanks to our social media guy, Brett, for watching those and knowing the success we've had with double dong picks in the comments there. But we are giving away 1 month free. If you get one person on the slate who hits a double dong today, you'll be entered to win. Obviously, if multiple people do it, we'll choose it at random. But if you are correct, we will give one person away corrects a double dong or predicts a double dong correctly. The link is in our YouTube chat right now. Go check it out. If you want to check the pinned tweet also at Osmo_com. It'll be the pinned tweet on top of the handle. Just go search it on Twitter. You'll find it. It's the one right there. Just reply to it. Give your pick for who hits a double dong today, and you will be entered to win 1 month free. It's a $70 value. It's our gift to you guys because we love you all so much. We have giveaways every day going on that handle, so follow it too while you're there. Jake, if you had a double dong pick today, we had enough struggles with single dong picks. You had to pick one. Which team would you say might have a double dong today?
Oh, it's hard not to say St. Louis. I mean, or Texas on the other side. I mean that park is so good for hitting, and the weather is prime. I mean, wind blowing in. I don't think that matters though in that park, if I remember correctly. It's built to mitigate the wind being blown in. 6 run total for the Cardinals, over 6, 5 for Texas. I mean, you've got guys like Gallo and DeJong, Ozuna, and Jose Martinez and Goldschmidt, Carpenter. Like all these guys have big power, and then of course Willie Calhoun. I can't leave him off. But yeah,
America's hero, Willie Calhoun.
Yeah, exactly. There's a ton of power in that game. Bad pitching on the Texas side. Michaelis, I'm so on in general, and obviously not playing today. But yeah, it seems like it would come from that game. I think it would be the Cardinals. I am absolutely loading up on them, especially on FanDuel.
So I'll give you, because that's a good choice too, and I really can't argue it in any way. I'll give you one which is a little bit more under the radar, at least on DraftKings in terms of ownership, but maybe not so much on FanDuel where they're going to be very popular. You might know where I'm going with this. The Dodgers going against Anthony DeSclafani, my favorite punching bag, who this year, to be honest, has made me look worse more often than not in terms of just wanting to go against him. But today, it's a good spot for the lefties here in this Dodgers lineup. They are going to be bringing a lot of powerful lefties. I think one of these guys can get 2 today, though it's probably more likely it's just like a couple for for a handful of the guys. But I would pick a double dong from there. I think guys like Peterson, Muncy, Bellinger, they all have that power. If you got up twice in an inning or twice in some stretch versus DeSclafani, that could be enough to knock him out of the park. So that would be where I'd go. But obviously, make your choice right now at Osmo_com. The pin tweet there. Just reply, give your double dong pick, and you'll be entered to win that free month, $70 value. It's an all-access pass, so you get all the sports, all the content we have. A lot of stuff going on. Jake's still doing NHL stuff. You got PGA content, NBA content for the showdowns. Tons of stuff that you can get with an all-access pass. So go check that out in our handle now. All right, Jake. Let's talk pitchers. Before we talk a little bit of stacks. We'll go back to them later. But pitching, I think we can kind of blow through faster. What are you doing on the top for the higher-priced pitchers today?
Pretty chalky, as the audience can see now on DK right now. This is my DraftKings kind of dummy crunch. DeGrom, Scherzer, Lucchesi, all at the top for me. So those are going to be probably my 3 highest exposed guys. I doubt any of that's going to change because we already had the lineups out. I used the projections on the site, Alex Osmo's projections. So I don't think anything's going to change there. Outside of that, I'm basically just mixing in my SP2s, and it's really uncomfortable. Some of these guys like Rodriguez, Aaron Sanchez. Richards is my 4th guy as far as exposure right now, and I actually don't mind that at all. And then it's like Harvey, Lyles, Nova, getting to a few shares of Garrett Cole, probably not too much, and then Montas. So yeah, it's pretty ugly after the top three for me. Do you disagree with any of those guys, or are you super heavy on any of those?
So I mean, DeGrom is I'm the heaviest on by far. So I mean, I'm with you on that. I don't have a ton of pivots to Scherzer just because I think DeGrom's spot. I've talked about this Miami spot a lot. I think, and we all content-wise talk about it because it's going to be the best spot pretty much every night in terms of the Vegas total and in terms of strikeout rate, at least versus righty pitchers. And I think this is a good spot for him. So I mean, I'm not worried about the downside here. I think there's maybe some risk for Scherzer. Like I don't like going against the Cubs. I didn't the other day. I don't today. Scherzer's good enough, and he's a little bit cheaper. So I got there a handful of times, but I'm not matching the field on Scherzer. I'm all in on DeGrom today. It's just the way that I felt right playing it because I don't see him having any downside of a day. If Scherzer has a 40-point day and DeGrom has a 25er, then I'm screwed. That's what it'll be. But yeah, DeGrom, I'm with you on. Your cheap guys, I'll throw Merrill Kelly in the mix. So mostly the cheap guys, I let our projections at Awesemo.com do the work. The one that I wanted the most is Lucchesi. I forget people say it different ways.
Lucchesi. I think we've got a consensus on that.
Okay, Lucchesi. I feel like if he's Italian, it should be a ch sound, but whatever. That's fine. He's not Italian, though, I don't think, so maybe that's why. Not a proud Italiano, unfortunately, me and Joey. But yeah, I just like getting to him the most if I can. Obviously, it's tough to do that with some of the higher price stacks. That's when I'm willing to go to Aaron Sanchez, Merrill Kelly, who I really don't like very much of. Matt Harvey, who I actually have legitimate concerns about Matt Harvey. He's going to be pretty decently owned today. Well, not the worst, but not the best. And I think it's a home run park now in Angelstown, which it seems out of nowhere, but they're the number 2 home run park on the year in terms of park factors, which I was surprised by. The Deeper Dive guys talked about that, but I'd actually seen it this AM. I think they said it was top 5, but it's actually number 2 on the year. Let me just double check that fact. But like a lot of home runs there. So I don't know why you'd want to go to Matt Harvey, given the fact that he does struggle with giving up home runs. And this Royals lineup can hit a lot of home runs. They have decent power, especially in that middle of the order from Mondesi on down. A lot of guys with a pretty strong home run rate, especially on the year. So I really don't like that spot for Harvey, but I'm there. So I don't know. Which of the cheap guys do you feel the worst about that you're going to have on your lineups today?
Nova and Harvey. Just two guys
yeah.
I don't think and Rodriguez, 3 guys I don't think are very great, but they're all 11% or under right now. They might all get under 10, so it's just, again, kind of a revolving door on the SP2s to fit in some more mid-tier / expensive stacks with DeGrom and Scherzer. So it's just because of necessity of the slate. Like, there's just not a ton to like and not a ton of, like, glaring underprices. And you can really say some negative things about anyone in this sub 7K range, I think.
Yeah, and actually Nova is a guy I think I have at least one lineup with. Definitely not the most inspiring pick or inspired pick, but it is one that came up with me for projections as well. Actually, you know what? There are 2 others that I don't think I mentioned, and I don't think you mentioned that did come up for me. So I'll throw this out there too. So, and this actually gets a segue into a stack talk as well. Dylan Bundy, I think, is in an interesting leverage spot going against Cleveland. So Cleveland's going to be pretty decently owned on DK. I think also not unowned on FanDuel. They have a decent run total against them, so that's not great. 5.1 runs going against Dylan Bundy, so that's, again, not good for Dylan Bundy. But he has missed bats pretty well, and he's limited hard contact this year. 13.4% swing strike rate, 35% chase rate, only 28% hard contact this season. He's still been giving up a lot of home runs, so that hasn't gone away. His xFIP also pretty high too, so he's not pitching by those quality metrics there, or pitching well by those quality metrics. But I think this Cleveland lineup might be bad enough, at least based on how they've performed this year, where maybe you can get some strikeouts. I mean, they also are very much due for positive regression, so I see it that way as well. But Bundy's a cheap guy who I kind of don't mind, who also gives you a little bit of leverage on the bats, and he's got no ownership on him. Would you go to Bundy, or are you going to Bundy at all?
I'm not getting to Bundy. I understand like your thought process there. I think the best way to kind of play Bundy is to just not play him, but go underweight or fade Cleveland bats or fade Cleveland full stacks, because we do actually have them as one of the most over-owned stacks on the entire slate. I think they're second right now, unless there was a update just now in the top stacks tool. They're second most over-owned just from their top stack percentage compared to their ownership share on DraftKings. On FanDuel and Yahoo, it's a little bit easier, I think, to play a bunch of Cleveland. But going back to Bundy, I just have Richards, and Alex has Richards as the higher projected play, and I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, so Richards, I'll talk about in a second. I guess, yeah, that sums up my case for Bundy. And I think the run total here, like if we were talking like maybe a mid fours run total, I'd be more confident in it. But it is a play I made. I think I have like 3 lineups with Bundy out of 20. So like not a high volume play for me, but one which is good enough. I mean, 15% ownership on Bundy is pretty high. So I'll throw it out there if you want to tail that one and then have some regret when Cleveland all of a sudden has 5 home runs for every player on the lineups today. Then we can do that together. You mentioned Trevor Richards. Give me your case for Richards.
He's just, I think he's a pretty solid real life pitcher. He's at home in a big park. It's not great hitting weather, but there is a little bit of, it's not great pitching weather. There is a little bit of wind blowing in. Pretty low total going against him. And like I said, I think he is an okay pitcher. I actually probably would have liked to see a few more lefties in here because his changeup is his best pitch, as the guys in the deeper dive were talking about if you guys watched before this. But he has been okay against righties, much better than I thought. And you get Carlos Gomez here, you get Ramos without the platoon split, Lagares, Todd Frazier, all these guys that hit lefties much, much better, and then the pitcher spot as well. So I'm finding myself with more and more Richards as we get closer to lock, and it's just kind of the lesser of all the evils here with these SP2s that are pretty gross, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, he projects significantly better than Bundy in our projections at Osmo.com. Trevor Richards, 15.3 projected points. Dylan Bundy, a 9.7. But, that's assuming the Vegas total is on board. And as you should more often than not. But, if you're going to make an argument for a guy, I guess I made about as good one as you can make for Dylan Bundy. I assume I did. I don't know. I can only assume.
No. It was sound reasoning. It's just a huge slate. So, like, if Cleveland, if this was like a 7 or 8 game slate and Cleveland was like the chalk of the chalk, by a good margin, I think then that's where you play Bundy, even if he doesn't project out that well. But here, I didn't find myself needing to do that, even when weighing in ownership and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and there's not a lot of ownership expected on Richards either. So your logic is also completely sound there, where probably less risk. This Mets lineup has gotten worse with no Conforto in there, adding Carlos Gomez in there, who's also not a particularly great hitter. I mean, not a terrible one. I feel like he's like a replacement level kind of hitter. Not a guy I would want to get to, but going against him, certainly not an issue. So yeah, I support that too. And Richards is a guy I also have a comparable amount of ownership to Bundy. So yeah, I think we're on the same page. And I think that covers everybody I actually have. Yeah. All right. So pitching, we kind of have hit on. Let's go slower with the stacks because I feel like the hitting is kind of the most important part. Mm-hmm. Who is the number one stack you're getting so far?
Number one is, I believe across the sites, it's St. Louis, just because so I'll go to my FanDuel crunch right now and I'll refresh that in just a second. I got 43% St. Louis stacks, 4-mans on FanDuel. They're just that good of plays. I mean, the total's huge. The bullpen game they're going up against, one of the worst bullpens, and they're just super affordable, and they're not going to be as heavily owned as they should be on FanDuel, according to that top stack tool, which I've talked about a ton in recent days, and a lot of guys at the site are just realizing how much value that has. So I think St. Louis is under-owned. They're one of my favorites on DraftKings as well, and Yahoo. And then I guess LA we kind of have to talk about for a little bit here because I got 7% of them, but I did X them out for the main stack.
Wait, so which LA?
Oh, I'm sorry, the Dodgers.
Okay.
I got 19% of the Angels. So I actually am probably going to have more Angels on FanDuel than Dodgers. I did get a bunch of 3-man Dodgers stacks, which I expected to do, but I did cross them off, like I said, for the main stack. So on FanDuel, when you're doing 4-4, you can still get 4-man stacks. But like on DraftKings, I will be playing the Dodgers, but like some teams I won't be playing as 5-mans would be a team like Washington and Cleveland, because they are one of the most over-owned stacks. So yeah, I think St. Louis is number one across all stacks or across all sites for me. And then I do really love the Angels as well, and they're coming in, looks like a little bit undervalued as well.
So let's touch on St. Louis. Dig a little deeper on them. So the reason to go there obviously is the projected long relievers Adrian Sampson. It's opening with Jose Leclerc, unless that's changed. That hasn't changed, right?
No, that's correct.
Yeah, so Jose Leclerc will be opening. He'll probably be throwing an inning, maybe an inning and change. And then Sampson comes in. Sampson has been one of the worst pitchers on the year on this slate. Just giving up a ton of contact, giving up a ton of home runs, 4.4% home run rate on the year. The weather also heating up down in Texas, which is going to help out St. Louis. It's going to help out both sides. Though I think just real fast to touch on the other side, Adam raised an interesting point on the Deeper Dive show about Miles Mikolas, and how the ump in that game apparently very generous with his strike calls. So not something where Samson's going to be able to paint the corners and Jose Leclerc presumably also not going to be able to do that. But Miles Mikolas may be able to get some value here and kind of impede the hopes for that Texas stack, which I thought was an interesting take. I kind of organically didn't get to Texas as much because the run total is not quite as high and I didn't force them in. But I think it does add a little bit reason more to not go, well, maybe to go to Mikolas, but to not go to Texas at least.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, Mikolas is a much better real-life pitcher than anyone that's going for Texas. I don't think Samson has really anything we should be worried about, and neither does Vegas, it looks like. So, yeah, if there is a pitcher that you want to maybe avoid, it would be Mikolas, but the lefty power is the issue here. So Chu, kind of joking about Calhoun, but he does have a little bit of power. And then Gallo, obviously, as Asdrubal Cabrera still has power, as does Odor, showing some signs of life. And then even going down to Guzman in the 8-hole. Like, these aren't great hitters, but Mikolas does not get the swings and misses against lefties. And you're seeing over 5 implied total for Texas here. And I don't know. I think they're a fine stack. You're not playing Mikolas, would you?
No, I'm not. And I mean, I think Adam's case maybe slightly more interested, or at least less interested in Texas than I already was. But yeah, I think Texas certainly has a lot of potential, and Willie Calhoun certainly on the upswing with that one home run. Yeah. I think he built on that today for sure. I can't argue that. But yeah, no, Texas, I agree. Like, it's a good stack. I think I just ended up less in them. I had them in my video this morning, and I kind of ended up getting away from them a little bit more than I thought I would, go into some other ones a little bit more. But I think the reason, though, the Mikolas thing where he's going to get some strikes on the outside, I think that does give me a little bit more interest in him potentially if you were playing like 150 lineups, which I'm not. I think that I would have a little bit of exposure maybe in the hopes that he gets some cheap strikes and oppresses that stack somehow.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see, where else? What other
well, let's talk more about the Angels, because you did mention them. And we talked about the home run park there. I guess, why do you want to go against Brad Keller? I mean, the run total, 5.4 implied runs for the Angels, which is one of the higher numbers on today's slate. And Keller, not a guy who gives up a ton of home runs, but again, being in a positive park factor home run park should help him out, and doesn't miss bats well, doesn't give up a lot of actually, he's been giving up hard contact too this year, so never mind that. Keller, kind of a worse version of Mikolas, I guess, in some respects, but what would be your argument for the Angels?
So, the Angels, I mean, I think what people do with the Angels since Ohtani has returned, I actually heard Adam give voice to it. Well, first of all, Listella at 4,900, that's going to scare some people off, except for the people that think he's just going to be on a hot streak for the rest of his career. So there's some restrictive prices with Trout, and then I think Ohtani is one of the most underpriced players on the slate. So there's those two. I think a lot of people will use the Angels as two-mans, and that's why you're not seeing them as one of the higher exposed stacks. But just in terms of being the top stack, they actually have one of the better chances tonight with that 5.6 implied total. I don't think Keller is that bad really at all. I think he's a perfectly fine option. But if they do get to him, I think the Angels could just pour it on here. So that's kind of my thinking here. Just looking to get to stacks that maybe people aren't getting to as much. And I'm actually getting to both sides of that game quite a bit, as you guys see my KC exposure right here from my dummy crunch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we talked about KC a little bit earlier up front. I think they're good leverage against a Harvey guy who's going to pick up some ownership throughout the course of the day, or a guy in Harvey rather. But yeah, I'm with you on your logic is sound. I guess it's tough for me to pay like Astros prices for the Angels, right? Because you're paying. Let's see, what's a $4,900 player on the Astros, which is what you'd be paying for. Yeah, you're paying Carlos Correa prices for Tommy Listello, which maybe he keeps it going. I mean, the home run rate 8.3% on the year, and he's in a positive home run park, and they did bump him up the order for a reason. He has been getting the results, so maybe that stays. But yeah, I think I get your logic from a tournament perspective. It just seems like a lot to pay for these guys who feel kind of flimsy outside of Ohtani and Trout.
So speaking of the Astros, did you get to any of them? I mean, so you hand built, right?
Well, I do the same thing where I force the optimizer to do some stuff and take some kind of general results and put it in different directions. I did force some Astros in there because I think going against Porcello, nobody's going to be on them. It's a nice spot. I mean, they're under 5% owned. Like, every player's under 5% owned collectively. They're under 1% owned as a group, or as a team rather. So yeah, I did force some Astros in there. I assume you don't land on them naturally?
I don't land on them naturally, but that's a stack that I really, really want to get to. So I think what I need to do is kind of eliminate some other stacks for main stacks. So I get to some 5-man, 4-man Astro stacks because if they're going to be 1% against Porcello, a guy that I think has been a little bit fraudulent over these last few years since his, Cy Young win or whatever. I just don't think Porcello is that great. And you've got a ton of good Houston hitters that, yeah, they're a little bit expensive, but you're getting them at 1% owned on a huge slate, and it's going to get you a different lineup construction. And then I looked at the top stack tool again, and they have a 6% chance of being the top stack, whereas they're only a little over 1% owned.
Yeah, so that's sort of where I shook out with it too. Was Porcello to me? I mean, I share your exact feelings. I think fraudulent's an adjective that is really strong. A strong SET word to use there, Jake.
I know,
but
right?
but yeah, like no, fraudulent. I think is pretty sound. He's got a 1.5 WHIP so far this year. XFIP just under 5, which is up from a 4.1 XFIP last year. Hard contact isn't there a lot, through 30.3%, but he's given up a ton of fly balls, 42%. Home run rate, 4.1%. Swinging strike rate, really poor with an 8.5%. Also not getting guys to chase, 27.6% there. To be clear, these are all not good numbers for Porcello. And Houston, a professional hitting team who's the best hitting team against both sides of the plate, I think is a really strong situation to go against Porcello here. So I like them quite a bit. And yeah, that was why I was just like, I got to force a little bit in there because you have one stack of them and it goes off. You're already ahead of the field on ownership and in terms of your output there.
Yeah, like you have to be able to miss bats against Cleveland. I keep saying Cleveland. Should I just go 100% in on Cleveland? Like I've just got him on my mind, but
no, because Dylan Bundy's going to mow through him and have a 20 strikeout day. He's going to have that Chris Sale day where he gets 17 Ks in like 5 innings.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that does happen for your sake. But no, you have to be able to miss bats against Houston, I think, to have sustained success. So yeah, Porcello could, run good here and get a bunch of fly ball outs and line drive outs and stuff like that. But I think the important thing is that Houston, a bunch of good hitters are going to be making quality contact or decent contact and putting balls in play against the pitcher we both don't think is great, and they're going to be 1% owned.
Yeah, and the whole team, like the average lineup, or the lineup's averages against a righty, 4% home run rate for the team collectively. So that's not including the individual guys like Yuli Gurriel is a 1.7% rate, Josh Reddick 2.6% rate. Those are the only guys under league average on the team. So there's a bunch of different ways you could stack it, a bunch of different ways you can get there, and those guys can have serious potential here versus Porcello, who unless he has one of those days where he just gets lucky and kind of doesn't give it up, which is entirely possible, but 5 implied runs, a not bad park for these guys. I think it's a good situation to go to Houston.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100%.
All right, let's talk about the other LA side because you mentioned them as well, and I talked about them briefly up top. I like them quite a bit. They would be a team who I'd want to try to get a double dong selection for if you were doing our contest on the Osmo_com Twitter. I like these guys. I didn't maybe get enough of the straight Dodgers stack, like the 1 through 5. Like I would love to have more Peterson, Muncy, and Bellinger in the same lineup. I didn't quite get there price-wise because of the amount of DeGrom I have. But overall, these guys all look great. Even Justin Turner, I really don't mind because he's probably going to have at least one guy on base in front of him, and that's going to affect things a little bit for him. And he's actually a pretty good hitter versus a righty as well. I mean, he doesn't get enough credit for it. Maybe not as much pop as these guys do. But he still gets good contact. He still can do that. He can still do some things in a good hitting park. So I love the Dodgers, and I can stack them a million different ways, and I did today. Jake, what are you doing with them overall?
I mean, so on FanDuel, they're incredibly underpriced. However, like I said, I'm fading them as main stacks, so I'm trying to limit my exposure to the Dodgers. I will have some Dodgers in 3-mans, and a few 4-mans will sneak in there, but I'm trying to go underweight intentionally on FanDuel. On DraftKings, they're more, I'm just playing them straight up. Like if I get them, I'll be happy with that because they are priced up a little bit. It's going to be tough to get Scherzer and DeGrom and Lucchesi in there with any sort of regularity while also getting Dodgers stacks. So I get it. As far as the spot goes, Desclafani does struggle with lefties. If you are looking for a reason to fade the Dodgers or a reason to feel better about it, the Reds have their bullpen has the 26% K rate. That's the 7th highest in the MLB, and then they also have a top 10 WHIP as well. So their bullpen is not allowing a ton of base runners. They're getting strikeouts. So that's just one reason. It's a huge implied total in a hitter's park. So I'm not saying get off the Dodgers, but if you're looking for a reason to maybe play less of them, that would be the reason for me. And we just have them being overowned right now on FanDuel.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. On DK, I think, with the ownership I've seen on FanDuel, I'm not playing there. I'm just playing on DraftKings tonight. But I think it is a spot where FanDuel I could see wanting to get away from there, or do like Jake's doing, do some mini stacks, try to get a little bit of exposure, one-off guys, whatever you can. I think that's fine. But yeah, the bullpen point is pretty sound too. They're getting a lot of swinging strike rates, a good swing strike rate rather, a good chase rate for the bullpen as a collective unit, not giving up a ton of home runs either. So the bullpen has been there and matches up well. I think they have a bunch of lefties in there. I heard somebody say today on one of our shows. So that is something to keep in mind, because this lefty heavy lineup can go south if it's not getting production right away.
Yep. Exactly.
How about the Cincinnati side? Because I actually have a lot there too. Because Rich Hill, to me, it's a very limited sample for Rich Hill on the year. Just 66 batters faced in 2019. He's got a 7.6% home run rate, a 7.5% swing strike rate, 26% chase rate. He's now in a park, which is going to favor some positive power. Cincinnati, to me, is a team who hits well. I mean, just on paper, going back to last year, their sample size is one of the better hitting teams versus left-hand pitching. And I just like them quite a bit here. I think they're in a good spot, especially if Hill is hurt or he just doesn't have it. Maybe he's got some blisters again. Hill loves getting blisters as much as you and I love anything. So who knows? But I think it's a good spot against Hill. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine spot against Hill. I mean, they have a decent implied total. Hill does give up some power to righties. When he doesn't have that curveball working, he can get in real trouble. The issue is just, I mean, Senzel is fine. I love Suarez, so, I mean, I'll play him against any lefty, basically. And then Puig's underpriced. It's not like they're getting super over-owned or anything like that, so Cincinnati is a fine stack for me. I think I'm going to end up a little bit over the field on them, but not taking a major stand here. I'd also like Casali at 3,100.
Yeah, not a lot of home run power for Casali, which kind of sucks, but he's still a good enough hitter. And yeah, I ended up with a lot of him at a cheap price at catcher. I think he kind of naturally would have flowed to me anyway, but definitely as part of my stacks I got there. Senzel, too, a guy who's been hitting much better versus lefties and righties. I think that helps him out a little bit. I'm also not striking out at all, which is interesting. He's got an under 5% strikeout rate on the year versus lefties, which only 20 at-bats, but it's still pretty low for a rookie who's coming in. So, yeah, I think Cincinnati looks strong to me. I think there's an affordable stack, and I think they do have some upside. Here's another stack, Jake, who has going against a team with a bad bullpen. They're going to be well-owned on DK as at least a 4-man stack. The Oakland A's going against Detroit. How much Oakland do you have? Because they are one who also came up quite a bit with our projections at Osmo.com.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I'm just about to X them out for main stacks on DraftKings. It looks like they're coming in a little bit too highly owned for what their actual chances are for being the top stack. I mean, they still have a 6.6% chance, so they have a decent chance, but maybe I should leave them in. I don't know. I'm undecided on them, but I am crossing out some stacks, and they're flirting with being eliminated. Not saying I'm eliminating them at all, but I think Norris is a perfectly fine pitcher. The problem is so much righty power here for the A's. So, like, I like the idea. I like how they project out. I love their prices, but so does everyone else. So, I'm probably going to end up a little bit underweight on the A's here.
Yeah, I just don't see the stuff for Norris. I think that's really the issue to me is he's not getting strikeouts. He's not missing bats. He's certainly not doing anything particularly well versus lefties, which doesn't matter because Oakland is just not rolling out any lefties at all, basically. But it's a good spot, I think, for the Oakland lineup. So I wouldn't go, well, I could see going under the field here because there's going to be a lot of ownership on that top four. They're all 14% for Semien projected on DraftKings, 17% for Chapman, 17% for Piscotty, 23% for Chris Davis. So that top four is going to have a lot of ownership. The bottom half, though, not a lot. And I do like some of those guys as well. Pinder and Canha did come up some as a cheap stack option for me, and they have pretty good power. So, yeah, I get why you'd want to go less than them. I think they're a little bit less exciting than some of the other ones, and if they're going to be chalky and less exciting, that's a decent reason to maybe come in a little under.
Sure.
All right, we did pass the halfway point, so my bad. We usually do it right at the halfway point of the show, but got so excited to talk about that Oakland stack. But it is that time. We are going to do our dong picks right now. And there was an update to the board yesterday as CJ Crone went yard for me, while Eddie Rosario just left you holding your genitals, Jake. How do you feel about that?
No kidding. Yeah. Everyone got involved. I mean, Buxton got involved. I think someone else donged.
Kepler, too.
Kepler, yeah. I mean, all the Twins donged except for my boy Eddie. So that's all right. I'll get one back tonight. Are you one ahead of me now?
I am. It is 7 for Josh on the year, 5 for me, 4 for Jake, and 7 for Emax. So we're closing in on the bad guys up top. I guess Emax not the bad guy, just the bad guy. Old Bowser, Josh Engelman on top. We're going to knock him out into a fiery pit of lava.
Yeah, that's definitely not an overreaction at all.
Well, not literally, just a metaphorical pit of lava. But we're there. I want to keep my hot streak going, but I'll let you go first because that worked well yesterday, Jake. So go ahead.
All right, let me get over and see who's coming up for me on DK. Trevor Williams placed on the DL. Okay, that doesn't matter for tonight. I think I just picked this guy the other day, didn't I?
I can tell you, I got the sheet open.
Yeah, I think I just picked Mondesi, right?
You did.
Yeah.
That was our famous shortstop, dual shortstop day for Kansas City. Did not work out for us.
That's right. All right, I'll take a Cardinal, but I don't know, maybe someone that not everyone, I'm not taking Carpenter. I'll take Jose Martinez.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm getting a lot of him. I'm getting a ton of Cardinals all over the place, but
well, now I feel like maybe I should troll your pick with Goldschmidt, but I gotta stick with the Dodgers. I have the most Dodgers and went out of my way today to get there. Peterson or Muncy? Muncy was my one-off pick today on the Four Corners video. My short form video on this channel, which you can get if you subscribe and hit the notification bell. You'll know when it goes live. I'm gonna go Max Muncy. I gotta go Max Muncy. Josh's favorite.
That
makes it better.
Man, I'm kind of sad that if you get a dong with Max Muncy without me, I'd be pretty upset about that. So I'm hoping he does, at least for my DraftKings shares, but not for FanDuel because I think he's gonna be mega chalk over there.
So Emacs pick is in the Slack already, and he had Max Muncy as his fallback. So good, that's not his one. His number one pick today, Chris Davis, not with a K, with a C. He's going to the Orioles. Chris Davis.
Interesting.
Did not foresee that one as your number one.
Did you see the strategy show this morning?
No, I saw them talk. Oh, they argued about it, right? I didn't see that whole thing. No.
Yeah. So Adam kind of just said that Chris Davis has been good this year, and Josh just jumped down his throat. So it went on for about 20 minutes. It was a good discussion, though. I was more on Adam's side that Chris Davis he's been unlucky, but he's been obviously he went 0 for 50 or whatever to start the season. But like if you look at the under the hood stuff, he looks okay, which is a lot better than what he's been the last couple of years.
Yeah, and he's still above league average for home runs this year, 4.2% rate overall, and then going back to last year, 3.4% rate versus a righty. So sure, I mean, look, not my first choice of a player, but Emacs had the special sauce, so I won't argue it. So there you go. If you want to contribute your dong picks, we do have that contest going right now. Go to @Osmo_com on Twitter. It is the pinned tweet. If you pick a double dong today, you're like the only person who does it, you will win straight away. If you're one of multiple people who does it, then you'll have to be, randomized and randomly selected and all that. But if you are the only person who picks it right, go to the @Osmo_com Twitter. Pick your double dong pick. If you're right, you get an all-access pass to Osmo.com for 1 month, $70 value. Right at your fingertips. So go check that out. Go support our social media guys. We're working so hard with these giveaways every day. And we do have them pretty much like every day right now. So go check them out. Follow the handle, and you'll know when we have free stuff to give away.
Does anybody ever pay for memberships here, or is it just all free? I swear, it's every day.
Everybody here is just free right now. They're all a bunch of freeloaders. The YouTube channel, like people joke about, YouTube channel's freeloaders. Nope. Everybody who's a member of the site right now, free because they won a contest.
Yeah, exactly.
Josh gets too cocky sometimes. I agree. That's why we would knock him into the pit of lava with it. But you could be Mario or you could be the princess, Jake. It's up to you.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I'll take Mario there.
So Cancer33 has been, I guess, mad about saying don't play the Dodgers on FanDuel. And then the sake of Chris Davis is good. I don't think we said don't play the Dodgers, to be clear. I think we've been very much on the we've been very in favor of playing the Dodgers, but for ownership on FanDuel, there probably are some reasons to try to go away.
So long term, a team on a 15-game slate that has a 16% ownership share, they've got a good total. They don't even have the highest total on the slate, though, and that's the point. Like St. Louis has a half run higher than them, and they're getting much less ownership. Now, yeah, it's going to be much easier to make Dodgers lineups, but that's why they're getting owned. So for me, like as you'll see right now, I'm unclicking the Dodgers on FanDuel as a main stack. For that reason, like I'm still going to get them in 3-mans. I'll probably still get them in 4-mans when I run 4-4, but I want to limit my exposure because if you just run it straight up, the Dodgers are going to come up in like 40% of your lineups. So I don't want that for a chalk team. I want, if I'm right, which Adam talks about all the time, if you're right, you want to capitalize on that. And if you're right on the Dodgers on FanDuel, great, but you still have 15% of the field to beat out. That's also stacking the Dodgers on a 15-game slate with 29 other teams.
Yeah, and I think we just saw a similar situation. And again, not even a team with as good of a run total as this was, but when Houston just went south the other day, I mean, didn't even go south. They still had 5 runs, but there wasn't a ton of production across the board, like the Vegas total would have indicated, or like you would have assumed based on the matchup with Gregory Soto. Like it just didn't get there. And if you're not getting there, and if a lot of the field's not getting there today, and they're going to be very chalky, it's probably better you go a little bit under the field there. So there's a difference between like finding a stack good and finding them to be less desirable to play. I think that's sort of the differentiation. But
Just
yeah, I'm still playing a ton of Dodgers on DraftKings.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna play a bunch of Dodgers on DraftKings as well. You can go all in on the Dodgers on FanDuel too, and you'll have a profitable night if they score 10 runs. But more often than not, they won't. So
Yeah.
I'm playing the long game here. I'm not saying you have to play this way. I'm just telling you what I'm doing.
And Adam's logic, I thought, on the deeper dive was really good, where he said basically if you're with this stack and 30% of the field's with this stack, you're all moving together with that. So then you have to beat still 30% of the field. If you go somewhere else and they get the same production as the Dodgers have or more, I mean, you're ahead of that portion of things. You're competing against less people for the stack you have. So it's just sort of more logical from a tournament perspective to do that. But that doesn't mean it's a bad play. It just means that if you're trying to get ahead of the field in a tournament, that is sort of the reason why.
Yep, exactly.
Who we been? Oh, somebody's saying Marlins. I don't even know. Yeah. This guy's saying ban this guy because he said be contrarian, stack the Marlins. There's sometimes to do that, and our Josh Engelman loves leverage stacks, and I think really I've been trying to look at them more. I'm sure Jake, you've been as well, and Adam also, one of the guys who really mentions leverage stacks a lot. It's not a Miami team who doesn't do anything is not the leverage you want, I would say. But Jake, what are your thoughts on a Miami stack?
So I'd look to stack the Dodgers like on DK. I would look to have the Dodgers as maybe like 2 or 3 mans, and if for some reason DeGrom has an off game, then yeah, you could get huge leverage on the field. The issue with them is they don't project well, and they're also going to be over-owned on DK. Like they have a 0.2% chance of being the top stack. They are 1.3% ownership because they're dirt cheap. So for me, no Dodgers, no Marlins as main stacks. I'll find better plays elsewhere on DraftKings.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
There's a time and a place for that.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing too is like they just don't have guys who could hit home runs. Like even if they get DeGrom into danger, let's say, the production's not really going to be there because they don't have guys who are going to suddenly knock it out of the park. The only guys above league average in terms of home runs on that roster are Jorge Alfaro and Neil Walker, and even then just barely above average. Everybody else significantly worse. And DeGrom, it's not like he's given up crazy. Well, he's actually given up above league average with 3.1% on the year home runs, but still not crazily above league average where it's a spot where you're trying to target. Like the thought makes sense, but get leverage on another pitcher. Get leverage on the high-owned SP2, not on DeGrom, who's just probably not going to give up that much.
Yep, exactly. 100% agree.
Oh, that's a bad. You know what? I think I'm gonna do this. Jeremy Hunley, take a lap. I got my comment read though. Listen, you want your comment read? That's fine, but don't come with stupid takes just to get your comment read. That's not how this works. Only valid thoughts here. Come back in 300 seconds, Jeremy Hunley, and then we can talk more.
Man, a 300-second timeout. Chris is tough out here.
Well, usually it's just hide the guy forever because, like, if you attribute like crappy chats, usually it just doesn't get better. People don't all of a sudden go like, "Yeah, today is gonna be the day I really bring my heat, my quality takes." But yeah, I don't want to send the wrong message there. We're not just rewarding troll comments. It's a logical thought to have when you see a ton of ownership on a guy.
Yep, I think I agree.
So okay, I'll give you one more stack that I have a lot of today, or actually a decent amount of, maybe not a lot. I'm going with some Yankee stacks. So 5 implied runs in their favor. Chirinos getting kind of hit on the year, still not giving up a ton of walks and hits. Like his whip is still under 1.92 on the year, but the home run rate's up to 5%. And these guys do have some pretty good power in the middle of the order. I mean, once you get past LeMahieu, you have Hicks, you have Voit, you have Sanchez, you have Morales, who is admittedly not good on the year, but going back to last year, a larger sample size, he has been pretty good. He's also crazy cheap. Gleyber Torres, who's been raking recently. Clint Frazier, all these guys have pretty good home run rates versus a righty. And Chirinos has been giving it up a little bit here. So I went there a little more than I probably should have. Definitely a little bit more than the field. Any Yankees at all for you today?
Let's see. I don't think off the top of my head I got to them. Yeah, I'm not getting to them. I don't have an issue with that. I mean, they're getting wholly ignored. I guess I do have an issue with it. The issue is I just hate mentally targeting these bullpen games that Tampa rolls out when Stanek's pitching, because he just goes and he can throw 98, like 100 miles an hour, and strikes out 3 of the first 4 guys, and it's like, man, that's just the worst way to like start your stack off. So I don't know, it's more of a mental thing, and they also don't project out well. So I didn't get to the Yankees. There's other teams with much higher implied totals that are similarly owned, so I went to them more often. But like Sanchez, I would love to get to as a catcher on really any site, any day.
Yeah, the reason I just got there, and this has been something that there's another Josh thing. So look, I think we all, can sometimes disagree on the channel, but we try to take information and little helpful tips from each other and iterate on them and use them. They have a 4% collective home run rate as a team versus a righty. And I think that's what jumped out to me. That's on the higher end of the slate. I mean, you have some teams, the Oakland is a little bit higher. The Dodgers are actually a little bit lower. Cincinnati's a little bit higher, but that's because of Senzel popping them up. Like basically there aren't a lot of teams in that criteria. So if Trinos does have a bad day and the Yankees kind of have that power in a park, which you can have power and you can kind of go off, I don't mind it. So that was my logic on it. Again, not my highest owned ones. All the ones we talked about, I have substantially more of, but they were one I kind of saw some value in today and some ways to get there. And Morales too, just being so cheap. If he does recover, Yankees have been just like recovering everybody. Cameron Maybin all of a sudden can hit. He's a guy who's been terrible for years. So maybe Kendrys Morales just needed that.
Sure. No, I mean, you're getting a low-owned team with power in a good park that they hit well in. So, like, I feel like there's a bunch of like teams like that today where it's like, oh yeah, well I don't really like them much, but if it was like a slate with even like 3 or 4 less games, like I'd probably be on the Yankees much more. But you just have to make decisions elsewhere. So if we're not mentioning your top stack, like if you're in chat right now and we're not mentioning your top stack, it's just because there's so many other options. And we'd like to talk more about like the chalky options and what we're doing as far as weighing in ownership and how much we actually like the stack.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's about where I stood with it as well. So also our top stack percentage is another thing that Jake mentioned before, and we haven't promoted as much today. It is a thing every day where Osmo does break down the top percentages of the likelihood of each stack, the value, likelihood of being the best value on the slate. And that just got updated 6 minutes ago. So use that promo code live before lock now if you want to check that out. It is something, if you are trying to identify teams to target, say on a slate of this size, it is one that kind of has a lot going on in terms of just data to pull. And for every site too, for FanDuel, DraftKings, and Yahoo, if you're a person who's Yahoo specific, a lot of ways to surface kind of the lineups that you want to make today. So go check that out. Promo code live before lock for half off your first month. All right, Jake, give me one more weird stack that you have that we haven't talked about yet.
Weird stack.
Or not weird, just one we haven't talked about. They don't have to be weird.
All right, Cruncher's moving really slow. I will just go on this page instead and see. Actually, let me go here. I'm getting I do like Richards, but I am getting to also some Mets. I know on DraftKings I was getting to some of them. 4.4 implied total, maybe a little bit lower depending on where you look. Not the highest implied total at all, but you're more targeting against the bull, or you're hoping that they can get Richards out early. He has a bad start, and then you get to just tee off on this Marlins bullpen. Nimmo's a guy that I like at 3,500 basically against whoever. Same thing with Cano. So there's just some bargain bin pricing that you're getting. And if you do believe Richard should be worse against righties, maybe you take some of these guys like Alonso and Ramos and hope that the changeup's kind of hanging for Richards here.
Yeah, I think I'm not quite there. Like, I don't think this Mets lineup is the strongest, and the bullpen too for Miami, not good, but not quite as bad as some of the other ones we've talked about being noteworthy bad. Mm-hmm. Like Baltimore is noteworthy bad to me, and I don't think that Miami's quite in that criteria, but I get it. I mean, on this slate, honestly, any of these stacks could go off, and it's a 15-game slate. So, like, you're going to have any of these teams potentially have that. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I'll throw one to you. How about Arizona? They're not one I got to, but in hindsight, maybe I should have a little more. I think the home run power not quite being there as much for them, that a few guys have enough where it could be interesting versus Marja, a guy who's not good and been really propped up by playing in San Francisco on the year. Any Arizona for you?
That's a really good option, I think. They're one that I hope I got more of as I filtered down my lineups, because they're coming in as one of the most undervalued stacks on the slate. I agree with you. I think Samardzija is pretty bad. He really does benefit from pitching in AT&T. I know it's not called AT&T, but whatever it's called now. So, yeah, I mean, pitching outside of there, I think, is the roof open in Arizona? I can't remember if I looked at. Yeah, the roof is open 80 degrees, maybe a little bit of wind blowing out to right, but even still, Samardzija not a guy that can miss bats. So like I love Peralta here. Christian Walker I actually don't mind in the 6th spot at 4,600, and then Adam Jones. Man, I haven't even looked at Dyson's price today. 5,300. That's
he's been sky high for a while now.
Yeah, he's had a couple big games lately. I know. He just, man, 5,300. So that's why you're not seeing Arizona up there. They're 0.2% owned on the last update, which is kind of crazy.
Dyson's sample going back to last year versus righties is terrible, but he's been hitting so well this year. He could be one of those dudes. He's on the Minnesota Twins regimen, I think.
So the speed is there for him as well. That's the big thing for him. So in the context of a stack, I mean, he's usually cheaper, and if he's hitting near the top of the order, that's a guy that you would get to a bunch because he's probably on base and scoring a lot of runs and maybe stealing bases. So the problem is 5,300 is crazy. You're not fitting in Arizona with like DeGrom unless you're going to like Sampson or something crazy, Harvey maybe. So it's just tough to fit him in. That's why you're not seeing a lot of ownership on Arizona.
Some people in the chat, somebody who is saying this right now, Colorado stack, where'd they go? Oh, Kevin Evans saying that he has a handful of Colorado stacks. They are sneaky. Somebody also asked, what about the Phillies pitcher as an SP2? So I guess we should talk about this side of the equation because people seem to have some curiosity on both parts of it. Colorado, 4.5 implied runs in their favor at Philly. I didn't get much to any parts of this game at all, but I would be inclined to go to neither, to be honest, because Cole Irvin, to me, at least the limited sample size he's had, grades out as a guy who's not getting much in the way of strikeouts. Oh, and the game's going to be delayed, too. That notification just came through.
So, yeah, I think the game is going to be fine to play. I don't have Cole Irvin. The Arenado and Story would be the two guys I would love to target. Reynolds is okay for 4K, but yeah, I'm not getting to them as a full stack. There's just so many other teams I have as priorities above them.
Yeah, Cole Irvin not missing bats at all on the year, 6.5% swinging strike rate and a poor chase rate of 22.7%. But he's been limiting the hits and not giving up home runs so far, but just not missing bats. Generally, a guy who I wouldn't want to go to because if you're not missing bats on a limited sample size, you're probably not going to suddenly miss a bunch more. So I wouldn't go to Cole Irvin and the run total too, not the best, but yeah, if you want to go there and assume he's going to get better, sure, but I just don't see it in this spot.
Yeah. There's other pitchers, and while the pitching isn't great in this level, I'd much rather go to a guy like Richards or even spend down for someone like Harvey or what's his name, Rodriguez, and just take some flyers on these guys.
This guy Brandon in the chat has been talking a lot about Frankie Montas throughout the entire hour, and I'm not even a guy on my radar because of his stupid price on DraftKings. He's almost $9,000 on DraftKings, which is a no thank you. 3.9 implied runs versus Detroit too, also not the best. Strikeout stuff, not really there. 8.3 Ks per nine versus righties. He gets 6.8 Ks per nine versus lefties. He gets 7. So it's not like it's going to get much better either. I don't see it for Montas, but unless you're just chasing the strikeout overall numbers on the Tigers. But Jake, what do you think about Frankie Montas?
Yeah, with Montas, you're just looking for a guy that has a really good matchup. So if you want to target Montas, if you want to play Montas, that's fine. I think I got to a few shares of him. Yeah, 7%. So I'm comfortable with that. It's not a great price for him, honestly, but Detroit just strikes out so much against righties. I believe they're still over 26%, their active roster. So just to strike out, like he's not a big strikeout pitcher, but Detroit will help you out in that category quite a bit. Yeah, they're still second with a 79 WRC plus against righties.
Yeah, I'm with that. Let's see. There was another thing I just wanted to mention that was in the chat. Yeah. Anyway, point being, I don't want to pay that much for Frankie Montas. I think when you're paying that much, you're paying a Detroit kind of uptick, and that's not a team I want to pay a premium for, or a player rather I want to pay a premium for. Come on, Excel.
Right. Excel having issues?
Yeah, just all of a sudden gave me the red rainbow wheel, but I think we're okay.
Oh God, that's the most terrifying thing.
Tiger Woods missing the cut. Tiger.
Did he miss him? Did you play PGA at all this week?
No, I didn't, but I wanted Tiger to have a good showing. Like, I didn't want that to be an aberration. The Masters win, I enjoyed that. So, but yeah, I didn't play. Did you?
Yeah, I play for the Masters, or I'm sorry, for the majors especially. But yeah, I didn't have much Tiger, so I'm not too upset that he missed the cut. It is still way more fun when he does make it, though. Like, it's way more fun to watch, and more people are talking about it and such. But yeah, no Tiger. Gonna be a little bit different than the Masters a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer. I feel like when there's Tiger around, whether he's like good or just kind of in the hunt, I think it does bring up interest, and I would like that. But I guess maybe better. He got his win. He can go work it out. Probably celebrate a little too hard after that one. Went a little too hard on Perkins and the various people
Oh
there.
God. Yeah.
Uh, so I just need to dispel one point. So to be clear, so like Brandon, totally okay playing Montas. That's fine. I would just agree with the statement that Montas has been good this year. He's been passable this year. He's been good as like a 7K pitcher, not as a $9,000 pitcher.
Right.
Would be what I would say.
It's just tough to find a ton of great values you're excited about. So, you want to hear about who my top stack was on DK?
Yeah. Go for it.
It's a team that I just talked about. You asked me a weird stack. It's actually the Mets. Yeah. So,
Okay.
and, you know, it's not great, but it's the bullpen thing. And I am playing a lot of Richards, so it's not like I'm dead if Richards has a decent game. But I'm just hoping that game goes kind of crazy one way or the other. I don't know. It's weird. I wasn't expecting to be on them a ton, but based on what we're getting for the projections and the teams that I crossed off, that's where I ended up on.
All right, that's certainly a thought. That is,
it's a thought. I agree.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, you're smart with these things, so I think if you're seeing something, there's probably something, or if your numbers are seeing something, there's something there. But yeah, I would find it hard to get there.
So I've just been trying to like eat it in terms of like trusting the projections. So like me last year, maybe even me like 2 or 3 weeks ago, before I started really looking at this top stacks tool and stuff, and really putting a ton of weight, in fact, all of the weight into Alex's projections, I probably would have recrunched and just like limited them to 4 or 5%, but they're getting there for a reason. I like my exposures elsewhere, so I'm gonna keep it as is.
I guess just to volley this point back, because Brandon's making an interesting counterpoint. I don't understand why people are going Lucchesi, who's not great, versus righties going against an all-righty line when he's been worse than Montas. I would disagree he's been worse than Montas, but gives up a little more home runs, but his strikeout stuff is better. And in DFS, you're chasing strikeouts. He's going against the Pirates team, who strikes out 27% of the time versus lefties. That's actually, yeah, that's around. That's right. That's right on the year. Their aggregate lineup has a little bit lower of a K rate, but that's only because Jake Elmore's in there and he's only had 3 at bats and hasn't struck out yet versus the lefty. But overall, they have a very high strikeout number versus lefties. So that's why you go to Lucchesi, is the hope that he's a guy who gets strikeouts and they'll give more strikeouts. Whereas Montas doesn't really get strikeouts, but he's going against the lineup. He'll give some more strikeouts, but still not quite as much as Pittsburgh does. So that would be my counterpoint. But sure. I get it. I get it. It's a pivot. It's a pivot to Lucchesi. That's fine. If you want to treat it like that, that's fine. All right. What else do we have here? Any Boston stacks for you, or any Garrett Cole? Any part of that equation?
God, no, I didn't really get to either side of that, which is frustrating. I got to some Houston on FanDuel. I know you said Boston and Cole, but actually, let me see quick where I got on Cole, and then I'll put my FanDuel lineups in. No Cole on FanDuel. It's Scherzer, Lucchesi, Richards, and DeGrom, and then 1 Marco Gonzalez. On DK, I think I got to a little bit of Cole. Yeah, I got 6 shares out of 150, so 4%. That's not terrible. I just hate the matchup against Boston. He's probably in there just as a product of uniques, so I'm using 3 uniques. So it probably just couldn't use Scherzer and DeGrom in a lineup where it's like stacking Mets or something. So just as a differentiation point in a few lineups, I think is all he is.
Yeah, I think like Cole can get it done today, and it wouldn't surprise me if he had a monster day. But just looking at it, like if you're grading just on what the opportunity is and what the potential is here, I mean, you're expecting DeGrom to fail, Scherzer to fail, and then also Cole to have a really good day versus a very tough Boston lineup. It seems like a lot of things you're asking out of the equation. So that's the reason why I didn't get to Cole. I don't think I have a single share of him, but I get it. Like I get it if you want to split your shares and go maybe less DeGrom and just get some Cole in there, or go less Scherzer, get some DeGrom in there, or get some Cole in there rather. That's fine. Just not one that I think I need to get to today.
Sure. That's fair.
DeGrom has 74 Ks in his last 8 games versus Miami. That's a little bit of a BVP thing, but sure. That helps. Certainly doesn't hurt.
I mean, that's not even a BVP thing. That's just that the Marlins are bad and DeGrom is really, really awesome. So, you could say BVP, and I guess, it's probably the same team and maybe even a worse team than last year. So I don't know. I don't know what to read into that. The Marlins were bad when he was facing them then, and they're bad now. So, DeGrom's probably going to rack up a lot of strikeouts. That's the overwhelming probability or most likely thing to happen.
Yeah, I agree there. There was something else. Damn it, where'd it go? The chat's moving. Oh, any Nova? We talked about Ivan Nova up top, but I feel like we should just answer this question. Any Nova for you still in your most recent crunches?
Yeah, I got to 7% Nova on DK, not on FanDuel. I don't think that's necessary tonight.
Yeah, I think I've got the Fields 5% on Nova, which is fine to me. He's not good, but giving up 12.4 hits per nine on the year, going 10.2 per nine going back to last year. So certainly not a good hitter, but Toronto can give it up too. So yeah, I don't hate him, but not a guy I would have a bunch of. It's not a dude I would trust.
Sure. Yeah, I wouldn't be going crazy on Nova. He's just $6,200 and doesn't have a pitch count, and going up against a team that struggle against righties. That's it. It's not an endorsement of Ivan Nova as being a good pitcher for DFS or real life. Of course, we get the Padres lineup with 4 minutes left after I just crushed. Fantastic.
They've been slacking this year, man. They're always the last one every time, no matter where they're playing too.
No kidding, dude. It's so annoying. We didn't do Paul Blackburn of the night. Speaking of Ivan Nova.
We didn't do Blackburn of the night. Actually, before we do that, just real fast, Martin Perez. He's another guy who could be a pivot. We talked about Montas maybe being a pivot to some people out there. See Lucchesi. Martin Perez, similar price point, could also be a pivot. Has had good results on the year, and Seattle has had some tough issues. Their strikeout lineup, or their lineup today, has a good amount of strikeouts. 25.3% aggregate K rate in the lineup they're putting out there today. I didn't get to Perez. I think the price, same thing. I kind of went cheaper than these guys or more expensive. But Martin Perez, any for you today?
Let's see. None on DraftKings. I didn't get any on FanDuel. Yeah. It's just too expensive for a guy that he's made improvements for sure, but I don't think you need to play Martin Perez when you've got some other options in much better matchups.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right. Let's do the Paul Blackburn. Then, of course, the Paul Blackburn Award is the historical one for our guy, Makad, who asked in the chat a little bit earlier, but we can do it for him now. It is an award given to the pitcher who's pretty terrible on paper, but also cheap enough where they could be in a tournament-winning lineup. Who would be your pick for that today, Jake?
I will go with yikes. I'm not maybe Jeffrey Rodriguez. There you go. That's my guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Ooh is the correct response to that.
No, that's not a bad one. I would go. The one I have more of is Merrill Kelly, and I'll go to him, even though I don't particularly like him either. But similar, actually a little bit cheaper than Jeffrey, so that's a bonus.
Okay.
What are they? Try to look at the money lines for both. Yeah, Jeffrey has a decent money line on him too. I mean, granted, the Cleveland run total is probably going to help that out a little bit, but minus 160, 3.9 implied runs against, and Merrill Kelly has a little bit more, 4 runs against, minus 136 money line. So yeah, Jeffrey might be a better play. I didn't get there at all though.
Yeah, it's really, really gross down there. So I wouldn't blame anyone if they didn't enjoy the play.
Hog Wild asking, anyone afraid of the wind blowing in Texas? Are you afraid of that at all?
No. Like I said, that stadium is built to mitigate the wind blowing in. So no, not an issue for me.
All right, we got 1 minute left to lock, so get your stuff in now. Jay Kelly 13 in the premium Slack saying 100% Lucchesi on FanDuel tonight. Should I get more at that price? I would say I think he's being sarcastic, but I have no issue with Lucchesi on either site, but I certainly wouldn't go that heavy on him.
Yeah, you don't need to go that heavy on him, on anyone really, ever. It's a good spot for him. He could certainly fail though. Like don't put all your eggs in one basket unless you're just being funny and it's one lineup or whatever. Like okay, sure, 100%. But like if you're max entering 150, you don't need to go 100% on anyone pretty much ever, on FanDuel especially.
It wouldn't be a live before lock if we didn't get one Sean V taken before the end. He says Vegas garbage, which is a take on its own. But Orioles going to light up Rodriguez.
Okay. I mean, that's possible.
That is an outcome that is possible. I would still say probably not. I don't think they're going to light him up. I think that'd be tough. But EMAC picked a home run for them, so maybe you and Sean V and EMAC can be the new live before lock duo on Saturday.
Yeah, that could be a thing. Sean V, come back. I want to hear how that Baltimore stack does for you tonight.
All right, we are locked. So go right now to @awesome_com, our Twitter handle. The pin tweet right now. If you pick a double dong pick, you can still get it in right now. Go do it. Make your double dong pick. If you are correct, you get 1 month free of an all access pass to all of our stuff at awesome.com. All the rankings for every sport, ownership projections, they are there for everything, for the PGA, for NHL, what Jake's doing, NBA playoff stuff. We have that. MLB, obviously, tons of that we talk about every hour. So go check that out at awesome_com on our Twitter handle. The pin tweet will tell you what you can do there to give your double dong picks. Jake, any parting words? You're on tomorrow, right? Doing some shows.
Yeah. Come back tomorrow. It'll be me and EMAC live before lock, and we'll be talking about all the games. I haven't looked at the slate just yet, but I'll also be writing spotlight pitchers. So a little throwback to last season because we need to give Joshy Boy a break. But yeah, it'll be another good slate. Good luck tonight, and thanks for watching, guys.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Good luck.